Appears to be. Okay, we'll call to order the October 9th, 2023 East Bethel Regular City Council meeting. Can we please stand and say the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brian's not here, so somebody else want to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt tonight's agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Okay, the first thing on the agenda, 4.0A, is East Bethel Fire Relief Association PIRA pension presentation. Mr. Troy Lashinsky.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I came to you several months ago with the idea of asking for your permission to at least explore moving the East Bethel Firefighters Relief Association from a self-managed plan over to the state Volunteer Firefighters Fund. And at that time, you gave us permission to explore, which we have done. And it is our recommendation that we move forward. So just a little bit of background for those that don't know. The Relief Association is a separate corporate entity that is separate from the city and separate from the fire department with the sole purpose to provide a pension benefit to our firefighters. And the pension benefit is a tool that's used for retainment and recruitment of firefighters. It is very beneficial to the city to make sure that we are able to recruit and retain the most talented firefighters possible. And one of the ways that we do this is through a pension plan. Our current benefit level is $6,000 per year of service for firefighters that are on the fire department for at least 10 years. We have 10-year vesting, and they can collect that pension after they have completed 10 years of good time and reach the age of 50 years old. And at that time, they can request their lump sum benefit. I can tell you some of the realities of Relief Association are that it is a full volunteer run organization. We have regular meetings, and we have to maintain bylaws, and we have to go through annual audits that are all done by volunteers. And when I say volunteers, true volunteers. There is no pay for anybody that participates in being a trustee of the Relief Association. So, the state of Minnesota came to the Relief Associations many years ago. I don't know exactly, it's in the packet. Between 8 and 10 years ago, they designed this pension plan that was going to be run by the state, and at that time, the main target audience for the state plan were very small departments that didn't have the means or didn't have the expertise to run a relief association. And what they were going to do is take all of these cities that had very small amounts in their relief association or didn't have a relief association set up at all, and at least put all that money into one pool and manage the bylaws for them so they didn't have to do that, so that even the small departments could offer a pension benefit to the firefighters. Over the years, it has grown. Some larger cities have joined the fund, and they've made a lot of changes to the plan as well to make it more attractive. In the beginning, I, for example, was very against the plan for many reasons. A couple of them were, if you joined the state plan, you could not get out. Once you went in, there was no way to leave, which I was very much against. They also had a freeze period, so that once you joined the plan at whatever benefit level you went in at, that benefit was locked in for 4 years with no chance of increase, no matter what happened with the stock market, no matter what happened with your funding. Some other items, they forced everybody to go in at 5-year vesting, which in the beginning I was a little bit against, but that idea has grown on me. So currently, if you serve on the East Bethel Fire Department for 9 years, and you quit for whatever reason, let's just say that you move out of the city, the benefit that you receive is $0. And one of the reasons that we have 10-year vesting is we want to encourage our firefighters to stick around for at least 10 years, because it takes a firefighter a good 2 years or so, some cases 3 years, to become a good, active, proficient firefighter on the fire grounds and in an EMS situation. So what we don't want to have happen is everybody quits after 5 years. We wanted to keep them for at least 10 years. Now, with that said, if somebody serves the city for 5 years, I think that they are fully entitled to receive something in the form of a pension. So that idea, where I didn't like it in the beginning, it has actually grown upon me, and I do think that it's a good idea. Some of the other realities of the Relief Association, besides that it's run by all volunteers, it is meticulous, it's tedious, and it's important. We need to make sure that we do things the right way. If we do not do things the right way, we can get in big trouble. We can show up in the newspapers and be on the news. We can have our annual state aid revoked by the state auditor. Lots of bad things can happen if we don't do things the right way. And we're all volunteers, and we don't always know the right things to do. We don't know what we're supposed to do, and none of us really have financial backgrounds and know how to exactly to invest our money and how to manage funds like that. So for some of those reasons, now is the right time to move to the state plan, because a couple of things that it will do is it will free up our volunteers to not have to do those things anymore. We won't have to manage the bylaws anymore. They will be managed by the state. It is a major pain. It's just like changing an ordinance in the city. It is a major pain to try to change the bylaws. It takes hours and hours and hours of work to even do a benefit increase where literally 2 lines of the entire 100-page document change. It takes many hours, and we have to go get council approval, and we have to get state auditor approval, and we have to make sure that we're following state statute. So getting rid of that will be huge for us. Another thing is we currently pay our financial advisor in excess of $10,000 per year for passive investments, meaning we sign up for a plan that's like a 401k where you sign up for the 40-60 plan and everything just happens automatically. We pay over $10,000 a year for that, which that goes away. The other thing that it saves us is every single year we have to go through several audits. For the state auditor, we have to do the GASB, which is something that helps the city. And those audits cost us in excess of $10,000 per year, and it takes many man-hours to actually do the audits that is done by volunteers. Mike Jaworski is a huge asset to the Relief Association. He helps out immensely with those audits, but it still takes time from the volunteers to do it. That goes away as well. Another big reason to move to the new plan is that under the current self-managed plan, we get to assume a 5% annual return on our investments. With the state plan, we get to assume a 6% annual increase on our investments, which is good for us. And one of the biggest things that is in the plan that's maybe not super intuitive is that it will allow firefighters that have to move for whatever reason. If you move to a different city and you are able to join a fire department that is also on the state plan, your benefit will move with you, or your years of service will move with you. So it could help a current firefighter that's in our city that moves to a new city and wants to move their years of service over, but it actually might help us recruit trained firefighters as well from other cities, because they can move from wherever they're at now that's on the state plan to our city, and their years of service will move with them. So a perfect example, one of our firefighters, Mark Duchesne, worked at the city of Blaine for 4+ years, and when he moved to the city of East Bethel, those years of service went away and he had to start over at 0 in East Bethel. That's just one example that I can recall. So there's a lot of other things in there that remain the same. One of the other things that maybe is attractive to the city is the city will have more control over the Relief Association going forward. The governing body, which will be made up of the council people, our financial officer as well for the city, will be the governing body along with the fire chief. So it'll be more up to you to decide how things happen and when benefits should be raised and taking out of the hands of the firefighter. So for all of those reasons, those are the reasons that I think that we should move to the state plan. Like I said, I was very against it for many years. I'm in full support of moving forward with this right now. So you might be asking yourself, how did we come up with the idea to move over from our current benefit of $6,000 a year per year of service to $7,500 per year of service? So regardless of what was happening here, every single year, the Relief Association looks at what has happened in the last year. In about the middle of the year, every single year, we have to fill out a bunch of paperwork for the state of Minnesota, the state auditor. And during that time, we analyze what's happened in the last year. We look at how many firefighters we have, how many years of service, and we do some calculations and determine what our funding ratio is. We do that anyway. And it was kind of like I would say a perfect storm, but storm's not the right word, but it was a perfect scenario for a benefit increase anyway, because it was a good stock market year, where last year was a terrible year. We had several firefighters leave that were not vested, so that money goes back into the pool. Moving to the state plan lets us assume a 6% increase versus a 5% increase. And for all of those reasons, we were due to be coming to you to ask for a benefit increase anyway. One other thing that's to note is that the state of Minnesota has some money in a pool, and they're incentivizing departments to switch over to the state plan this year. We don't know how much money it would be, but any city that moves over to the state plan during this year, they will take all this money that's in this pool and they're going to divvy it up amongst the newcomers to the plan after the first year. So we don't know how much money that will be, but it will be some amount of money as well. So those are all the reasons that I think that now is the time to move forward. And I guess I will open it up to you to hear what kind of questions you have.
I already asked my questions before the meeting.
Sure, but if you want to ask them again for the benefit of everybody else.
One of my questions was, you guys must have looked at this to come to the conclusion you'd be better off going with the state than your, like I say, volunteer hours or volunteer hours.
Yeah, so Bob had mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time, back when Bob was on council before. I don't know the exact number of years. It's either 2007 or 2008. I've been the president of the Relief Association. And it has literally been my baby all along. I take a lot of pride in the fact that we were able to get that benefit increase so many times over the years with our good relationship with council and prudent investments and doing things the right way with full transparency. So I was very against this plan, like I mentioned before, but all of the objections that I had in the past have been cleared, and now I definitely think is the time to move forward.
I just want to say that was an excellent presentation. Really very thorough and succinct. Appreciate it.
Troy, one thing that's going to be on our bill list tonight is fire state aid that we receive currently for this year. That will go away with the conversion to the state plan, correct?
Yeah, so the plan will still get that money, but currently the way that it works is we receive state aid every single year, which is basically part of the homeowner's insurance. 2% of that money goes into a giant pot in the state of Minnesota, and then they divvy it up amongst the cities to help fund these relief associations. So currently the way it works is the state of Minnesota gives that money to the city. It shows up as a budget line item, even though it's a pass-through. It gets deposited to the city, then the city cuts a check to the relief association. And to be honest with you, even that is a little bit of a pain, because I have to get a physical check and I have to drive it to downtown St. Paul and hand it to the financial people. And what will happen in the future if we switch over, that money will go from the state of Minnesota directly to the state volunteer plan. So just cut out the middleman, and that money will just go that way. And similarly, we also have currently with the city, every single year there is a $14,000 voluntary contribution to the Relief Association, which we came up with many years ago. It kind of takes out the ups and downs, and it's it was basically calculated at the time as roughly $400 per year per firefighter that goes into the Relief Association for pension benefit. So what happens now is the city cuts a check to the Relief Association, then we have to go bring it to the financial investor and deposit the check that way. And what will happen in this case is the city will cut the check directly to the state account.
I might add that $14,000 was implemented in 2011 and has remained unchanged since that date.
So what's left to do? I take it you guys already did a majority vote, or?
Yep, so we already, the Relief Association, I think it's on here, it was in August 26th, I believe. We took a vote as the trustees, and we approved to move forward. We're bringing it to you tonight for your approval. So we have a little bit of time sensitivity. We need to have it approved by the city if we decide to move forward by November 15th to get into the plan. You can only join the plan on January 1st, and the cutoff to move forward would be November 15th.
Well, that being said, I guess I moved to let the firefighters go ahead and do what they're gonna do.
So it'd be resolution 2023-70.
Yes.
Second that.
So we have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None heard.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all your work on behalf of all your colleagues
And
and the
fire-
city council and everybody.
The firefighters appreciate the backing of council. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
That's right.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda, 4B, is the tobacco violation hearing.
Thank you, Kevin. An employee at Dollar General Store at 1300 209th Avenue Northeast in East Bethel is reported to have sold tobacco products to a minor. As part of a compliance check by the Anoka County Sheriff's Department on August 2nd, 2023, Mrs. Emma Brookwalter was approached by an underage individual and sold the tobacco products to the underage buyer in violation of City Code, Chapter 18, Article 4, Section 18-176, prohibited sales. A copy of the sheriff's report is included as attachment 1 in your packet. The city has provided the license holder an opportunity to be whole. Notice was provided to the store manager on September 12, 2023 of the compliance violation hearing scheduled for the September 25, 2023 city council meeting. No representatives from Dollar General appeared at the September 25, 2023 hearing. City Council tabled the hearing until tonight, October 9, 2003. On September 27, 2023, the store manager from Dollar General was re-notified of the hearing that was rescheduled for tonight and is currently present. City Council has several options with respect to the administrative action. Any person including an individual licensee who sells any tobacco products to a person under 21 years of age is subject to an administrative penalty. This is Dollar General's first violation of the ordinance. For a first-time violation, the city may impose a civil fine of up to $150. In addition, the city may also suspend the license for a period up to 20 days. The city may agree with the licensee to waive up to 10 days of the suspension at the rate of 2 days for every 8 hours of community service performed by the licensee's employee. A copy of Resolution 2023-66 is attached, which provides for finding, conclusions, and administrative penalties for the case. Council should review the resolution and make a determination of the appropriate penalties to be imposed. At this time, staff is recommending only a fine. Staff is recommending council conduct the hearing and provide staff with direction on the penalties to be administered with the adoption of Resolution 2023-66.
Are they here?
Yes.
Sure, who's who?
Yeah, sure.
Step up.
Please.
Hi, my name is Jessica Constable. I'm
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
My name is Jessica
You can move
Constable.
it to where it's comfortable. Yeah.
I am the store manager at the Dollar General. I have Emma here with me tonight. During the time of the incident, I was on a 8-day vacation. Emma had ran and operated my store while I was on vacation. it was the last day of my vacation. She was pretty overwhelmed, exhausted, and ready to go on her vacation. She did read the ID. She said she had misread the ID, and I believe it was an honest mistake. She does card every person. We all do card every person for tobacco sales. I guess we're asking for forgiveness. It won't happen again. She will be more thorough and take more time to thoroughly read the ID and scan it. Sometimes we have issues scanning on the register. But I believe it was an honest mistake. She's a great worker. She's very dedicated to her job. She's always there when we need her help. I'm not the best speaker, so my apologies.
Doing great.
I'm just hoping for forgiveness, and we will prove to you that it will not happen again.
Well, that was kind of my reasoning of asking that you guys show up to be at the meeting. Because, I mean, everybody makes mistakes.
Definitely.
I mean, you look at it, I've missed numbers on things. I don't think she woke up that morning going, oh, I'm gonna sell tobacco products to somebody underage. My past years on the city council, what was done was the fine was waived. First let me ask you, what kind of training do you do?
We do computer-based learning on the computer, so every employee will do, depending on their position, will be like 6 to 10 hours of computer training, and then they're able to work on the sales floor. They can't work on the sales floor unless those videos are completed, and there is tobacco compliance videos in the training also. We card every customer, no matter the age. I had multiple people yell at me that they're old enough to be my grandpa, and I card them every day. I'm sorry, sir, it's not worth my job. So that is the training, and then personal one-on-one training also with me.
Emma, you wanna come on up? Don't be nervous, we're pretty laid back.
Okay, I don't know how really to speak into this. I just want to say that I know the importance of checking IDs, especially selling to minors. That was never my intention. I will do everything I can to prevent this from ever happening ever again. I'll take my time to read every ID correctly, and if I have trouble, I will, call a coworker over to help me so this never happens ever again.
Well, again, in past history, some of the other councils do other, but I don't think it was an intentional act, and I think everybody makes mistakes, and I personally would say to waive the penalties. However, if it happens again, that the penalties would be doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Because first time, shame on me, next time, you know what I mean? And, I don't know, that's just my feelings. We got 3 other people out there.
First of all, it's not easy to come up here and do this, what you're doing right now. It's it's nervous, and it's tough to do. The fact that you're doing it, you sound sincere, both of you. And I believe you. So I'm intent to believe, or go along with what Bob is saying down here. It was an honest mistake.
I'm glad that you showed up tonight because there was nobody here the last time. So that does tell me that you guys do care about what you do. And I believe it was an honest mistake too, and I agree with Bob.
So what's the format of doing this, table this resolution and have a different one, or how would you handle it? Or he's our city attorney, so we have to ask him how to do things properly.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
What I hear is a move to waive the administrative penalty with respect to DG Retail LLC doing business as Dollar General number 22023.
Correct.
I believe that would be Councilmember DeRoche's motion.
Second?
Okay, the motion as described by the city attorney has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none heard. Yeah, just, next time we see you, hope everything, good report on how business is going instead of something like this, but it does matter, So, well, not when we were coming up, it was a different world, but that's the world we live in now, so,
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
yeah. We don't want to make your lives miserable. Yeah. So thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
The next item on our agenda is the public forum, and forgive me if I pronounce this wrong. Is it Derek Lind?
Correct.
You have the same last name as my brother-in-law, so lucky guess. And your topic is election reform?
Thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor.
Could you
Council
state
members?
your name for the
I'm sorry.
record and your address and all
I'm
that?
sorry, my name is Derek Lind, and I actually live in
Thank you.
Ramsey. This is Lisa Hendrickson. I believe you're in Linwood? Yeah. We're part of Anoka County. We're two people from a citizen advocate group called ACIT, and we're pushing for election reform in Anoka County. We're primarily focusing at the county level. We've been dealing directly with the Anoka County Board. We've given them 75 presentations. We've had 28 people go to the mic. Recently, we've been going to the cities. You're the sixth city we're visiting. So the purpose of me being here tonight is just kind of introduce who we are and what we're trying to do. Hand out these cards. I'm not trying to talk you into anything. If you could look at the first card, please. There's a blue card at the top. The three main problems with our elections is, unfortunately, we live in a world where somebody's always going to try to cheat in elections. That's been true throughout our history, and it's true now. No electronic technology is totally secure. That's another reality we're going to have to come to grips with. And third, our current system is not transparent at all. You guys can tell me who won the election, but you didn't see it with your own eyes. I didn't see it, you didn't see it, nobody saw it. None of it's transparent. Those are the three problems. The second card, if you could grab the one with the flag on it, walk you through that real quick. These are the 6 things we're trying to get the county to do. So we basically narrowed it down to these 6 things because a lot of the laws, the bad laws that we have, are at the state level, and the county can only do so much. Secure our election judge data. Verify the registered voters. A lot of our registration is actually done at the state level through the DMV, and we don't know who those people are. The way it used to be on the old system is the county was responsible for that. They had a list of everybody who was registered within the county. Validated paper ballots. We got the mail-in ballots and all that stuff now. Paper poll books, this is a very important one. This is one that we're pushing hard to get rid of. Up until 2018, we were using the paper poll books, and now we've got these electronic poll books. And we think that's where a lot of the dirty work is being done. In fact, the manufacturer describes these poll books as being able to register and report and everything in between. It's a one-stop shop. It's an easy place to do all this stuff, and we don't really need it. That paper that we used just 6 years ago worked just fine. Hand-counted paper ballots. The state just passed a law in May, and not sure if you're aware of this, mandating the use of machines. You have to use machines. That's state law. Well, we still want to hand count. You can parallel count alongside, or you can do tests after or before, just to make sure the machines are accurate. I don't know why the state passed that law, but they did. And finally, small voting precincts. I think we've already got that right now. Anoka County does a pretty good job. We have 128 precincts in Anoka County, and in the midterms, we averaged 1,200 voters. So we're not talking about a ton of voters if we wanted to sit there and hand count votes. And by the way, Europe, they hand count their votes. Some European countries went to the machines, and they got rid of them because they didn't trust them, and they wanted citizen participation in their elections. So this isn't crazy stuff we're talking about. They do it in other countries, but for some reason here, we do this. Last card, real quick. This picture of a guy in the front. Mark Cook. He was called into the Trump White House after the November 3rd, 2020 election. He's considered one of the top election cyber security experts in the country. He gave a presentation to Anoka County, 2 commissioners, 90 minutes, and he told them, you can't trust this system. You got to change it. It's vulnerable. He showed them how to hack into the system. I was there. We had other people there too. He has this thing called an ecosystem. If you could look at that grid next to his picture there. Basically, it shows that counties should be a local function. You should go to your local precinct to vote, and it should be handled there. What's happening today is a lot of the election power is being moved to the state. And ultimately, what they want to do is they want to move it to the federal level. In fact, Klobuchar is sponsoring legislation right now to have the federal government control a lot of this stuff. So the way to solve this, to make it the safest and most secure, is get it back to the local level. The reason we're here talking to you guys is you have that joint powers agreement with the county. You take the votes, you run the precincts, you hire all those people. So with that being said, do you guys have any questions?
Is ACEIT,
Yeah.
does that, do you know a guy named Channing?
Yeah.
Okay,
He's
Channing,
one of
a friend of mine.
He said he's a football fan, and so am I. He's 70% of our offense. He does a lot of work
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
So we just came from a meeting. We meet every Monday, and Channing was there with
Yeah.
us tonight. So, any other questions? Thank you. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for the public forum? Okay, well, we'll close the public forum then. I don't know if we need to use the gavel business or not. So we're on to the consent agenda. Item 6 on our agenda. Do people have items they want to pull?
Yeah, I'd like to pull A and C.
A and C?
Yep.
I'd like to pull A, which is already pulled.
I'll just pipe in when A is discussed.
Okay, to that I'm adding, well, I'm pulling A and C as well, and also D and E. So if we want to approve items B, F, and G, we can go ahead and do that.
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve items B, F, and G of the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
You need a second?
Need a second.
What?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who seconded? Jim? Okay. Now that we have it made and seconded, all those in favor of approving items B, F, and G of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none heard. Okay, item A. Jim,
Jack, I got some questions here on the fire department, the
can you
pension.
speak into your mic a little
The
more?
pension thing there for like 76,212, and then the one below it 13,000. Is that from the state?
Yes, that's what we discussed, the question that I asked Troy. Those are funds that we did receive. They were pass-through funds, and then we paid the Relief Association, and it was paid back. From now on, these funds will go directly to that parent
Okay,
plan.
so then the 14,000 is the city's contribution?
That's correct.
That's what you were talking
And that
about?
will
Okay.
remain in the future, direct payments.
Okay,
from
thank
the
you.
city.
Then, just down in the fire department too, the motor vehicles services, that 350 3 times, is that for a license or what is that?
No, those were pump tests for three different pumper trucks.
Okay,
The pump and hose test on the pressures on those.
okay, thank you. Then I'm curious, on the second page on 25, the Verizon bill for 56014, how many phones, are we buying these phones and giving them to firefighters, or how's that work?
That is part of the paging cost, the
Paging.
pagers.
Okay, because now, if I understand it right, they don't have pagers anymore, it goes over their phones, right?
I mean, when I say pagers, that's the cost of that service to go over their
Oh,
phone.
okay, so that's what that is for?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Tim?
All right. Let me get to where I need to be. Question about the arena stuff up here on top, starting out. How do we get a $4,800 electric bill?
Because we started putting the ice in at the 1st of September, so it's a high cost for the cooling. Our electric bills for that arena probably will run us $35,000 to $40,000 a year. So the sooner we start putting it in, the higher cost we have. It goes down in the winter as the temperatures cool down, but that's the reason that bill was that for September, because we started putting the ice in earlier for their use, and they're billing for those hours to cover those costs.
And I see that the management company is getting $10,000. I mean, I've seen that fee go up and down over the last half a year all over the place.
Yeah, the fee is proportioned out, so during the off-season peak, it runs $1,500, $2,000. When he's in service, when he's got all of his staff there, then it jumps to $10,000, but it still stays within that $87,000 contract amount he has.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, well, mine was answered, so I guess we can have a motion to approve.
No, I got a couple
Oh,
of
no, you
questions.
got some, okay.
How do we go from $5.25 for Connexus all the way up to, what am I looking at here, 4,800? Where is it here? I had it and then I hit the mouse. 4570, no, that's a different one, sorry. 140, 756, 753. Aren't the 5 1/4, is that streetlights? Is that what that is?
That's the siren cost for the electricity for our tornado warning sirens.
Here's one for 989. I mean, they fluctuate so much. Is that just normal, or?
Yeah, that's normal. Connexus they don't bill us a lump sum, they break it out for everything that's metered. So a lot of these things, the smaller things are metered, the street lights are a flat fee, the sirens are a flat fee. They're not metered, but everything else is a metered cost for everything where there's service.
Okay,
Good?
good.
Okay, someone want to move to approve item A of the consent agenda?
I'm going to approve item A on the consent agenda.
Second.
Made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Okay, item C, Jim?
Jack, I got a question. Okay, it says delinquencies on utilities. What does that involve? Is that water, sewer, or is that electric or gas?
No, that's just essentially water and sewer bills.
Okay, so each one of these are connected to the sewer, I understand then, water and sewer.
Yes.
So then, they haven't paid this, it's a monthly thing, ain't it?
It's a monthly
Normally?
thing, that's correct.
So I mean, like, some of them are up to like $2,000 some dollars, it's like, what do we do to collect that?
We
just put it on their
It's
taxes?
put it on their taxes.
Okay. How long do they have to take care of that before we do assess it?
It's done every year, so any delinquent balances are assessed at this time, so they can be put on taxes for next year.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else have a question on item C? Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item C of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve item C on the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None heard. Item D is the Anoka County Law Enforcement Contract. And the only reason I pulled that is I wanted to make some comments about it. And that is that I had the pleasure of talking with Commander Paul Lensmeyer and our liaison with the Anoka County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Derek Peters, last week. And I had asked a question at the last meeting, and that was if we went from 36 hours per day of sworn deputy sheriffs to 32 hours a day, and then 4 hours of community service officers who are also connected with the sheriff's department, what would the cost impact be? And so they gave me the answer, it's $80,000. Okay. And my second question to them was, have you seen any effect, any impact yet on this increase, the 14.5% increase in the pay rate? And they said, yes, there's been a positive impact in terms of attraction and retention of qualified personnel. So the good news is, I mean, we're all a little frustrated with the impact on our budget, but the good news is that it's having a positive effect in terms of attracting people and retaining their people. That was their main concern, was training up people, and then other departments would bid them away, basically. So that's good news. And the final thing is that over the course of the winter, the mayors and some of the surrounding communities, we're going to talk about this topic some more as far as what options we have going down the road in case next year it's another big increase in the offing. I would say from the initial news that I just reported that it may not be the case, that just that big bump may have been enough to do the job, but we don't know yet. So it's just something we should talk about from time to time anyway. So with that, I give my little report. So with that, I'll move to approve item D on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. And I pulled item E, and that is simply, could you please elaborate on what we have as far as the liability coverage waiver form, just so we can better understand what is involved in it?
Actually, this comes from the League of Minnesota Cities.
Right,
and we've traditionally, at the recommendation of our city attorney, waived the liability limits and purchased additional liability coverage of $1 million. And this is something that I discussed this with Eric again this afternoon, and if he has anything else to elaborate on that, I'll let him join in this conversation and provide any comments he has. But that's been the way we've handled this and the way it's been recommended to us since 2011.
Is that an umbrella policy?
No. So the general policies that are out both in the private as well as the public market is basically a million and then 2 million with respect to aggregate coverage. Under the statute, there's a tort cap liability coverage of 1.5 million, but the statute doesn't really reflect what the market puts places. So you're sitting here with like a $1 million coverage or a $2 million coverage. The statute is clear, however, that when it comes to tort cap, as far as what municipality, if there is a tort claim and the municipality needs to pay out because of, personal injury and so forth, it's either that statutory cap of 1.5 million or whatever your insurance limit is, whichever is higher. What this form says, and I know there's a lot of language, and if you read it, you go, does it really say this, Eric? Yes, it does. Okay. Yeah. And this, what it says is, go ahead, get the insurance coverage that you really need, which is going to be that 1.2. But do you waive that tort cap liability cap at 1.5 or not? There are reasons to waive it, but as your city administrator has indicated, you generally have not. And the city administrator and I talked earlier today, and I say, yeah, I like to essentially have all protections and defenses possible, so don't waive it. Understanding, however, that you do want to get your $2 million insurance coverage just to cover the city, and also the best way, what you're doing is you're covering your public assets and monies.
Thank you. Thank you both. That's just what I needed, was a better understanding. So I guess I'm the only one who needed it though, so that's fine. But anyway, with that explanation, I'll move that we approve item E on the consent agenda.
Second.
Made and seconded, in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. So that's it for the consent agenda. Next item is item 7, new business. And they have the variance hearing, driveway entrance on 3rd Street and 185th Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The consideration for a variance request for frontage or front lot line reduction at the right-of-way for an administrative subdivision in the city of Oak Grove. This property is located in the city of Oak Grove, abutting the Bear Hollow subdivision in rural residential zone in East Bethel. The property is approximately 40 acres and is located adjacent to the right-of-way on 3rd Street Northeast. The applicant is looking to subdivide the property and build 2 single-family homes. The city of Oak Grove has advised the applicant that permission from the city of East Bethel would be required prior to moving forward with the subdivision application. The East Bethel City Code for Rural Residential Development regulations require that a minimum lot width of 200 feet at the public right-of-way exists for each lot. The applicant's parcel, excuse me, has a total of 105.88 feet of frontage on the 3rd Street Northeast right-of-way and is requesting a variance to the standard of 200 feet of frontage to a reduction of 52.94 feet in order to subdivide the property and allow for 2 access points or driveways through the East Bethel 3rd Street right-of-way to the parcel located in Oak Grove. Section 4-10 under variances states to hear requests for variances from the literal provisions of the ordinance in instances where their strict enforcement would cause practical difficulties because of the circumstances unique to the individual property under consideration, and to grant such variances only when it is demonstrated that such actions will be in keeping with the spirit and the intent of the ordinance. Practical difficulties as used in connection with the granting of a variance means that the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by official control. The plight of the owner is due to the circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner, and the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. On September 26, 2023, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. 8 residents from the Bear Hollow subdivision attended and voiced their concerns about additional traffic, driveway proximities, road repair and maintenance costs, tree clearing, the utilization of city resources without the ability to collect tax revenue, and emergency response times. The applicant and owner was provided an opportunity to respond to the concerns. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning Commission made a findings of fact and recommended to the City Council unanimously to deny the variance request as presented in Resolution 2023-68B. The recommendation, or the City Council should review the variance request, consider the Planning Commission's formal recommendation of denial, and approve or deny the variance as presented in Resolutions 2023-68A or B. If the variance request is denied under Section 4, Subdivision 10I, reapplication, which states no application for a variance for a particular use on a particular parcel shall be resubmitted for a period of 1 year from the date of denial of the previous application, unless a decision to reconsider such a matter is made by a majority vote of the full City Council. The applicant is requesting a reconsideration decision be made if denied in order to allow for him to reapply for a variance for a front lot reduction from 200 feet to the 105.88 feet for a single access point, as opposed to 2 access points in his current request.
So for clarification here, Aaron, we have a variance request for 2 accesses. If denied, can he still reapply for a variance for 1 access within that 1 year?
With your unanimous permission.
Okay, so we have to approve that.
Well, I was at that planning commission meeting, and I'm surprised the gentleman isn't here. I guess if I were going for variance, I'd probably show up. However, there were concerns from the neighbors. And I can't remember all of them. Aaron, you might remember some, but one of them was the people that live across the street from this lot were concerned about traffic, headlights coming in and out, and going directly onto their house where now it's just natural. Another concern was, okay, so if East Bethel gives them one entrance, what's to prevent them as soon as they get inside the lot that they split it off and then they go with two driveways? Because East Bethel, once it's off the road, East Bethel has no say. And I really don't see the advantage of allowing that variance for the driveway on the street, other than the fact we're just being nice guys about it and saying, yeah, you can use the street and go ahead. There's gonna be wear and tear in the road, which there probably would be some anyway. But taking the neighbors' concerns, I don't see it, if it was an East Bethel resident, it's still a tough thing to question. But being that it's from another city, I just don't see it.
I agree with what Bob's saying. I was at that planning meeting also. The residents of East Bethel spoke, and they had a lot of legitimate concerns, and I do agree with that also. And our city really doesn't benefit anything from this. So I believe that our residents have spoken, and I agree with what they say.
And going with what Aaron said, from a fiduciary standpoint, he can come in from the backside. Would it cost him more money? Yeah, and he pretty much laid that out. And then the question was posed to him, well, can you guarantee us if we just put one driveway, that as soon as you get in there, that you don't split it off? I mean, the guy was honest enough. He said, well, no, I can't. So, and again, once it leaves the road, that's Oak Grove. We can't do anything.
You fellows have any other thoughts?
I would not be in favor of the two for the split, that from 200 to 50, approximately 50, that's too much of a
Yeah. It's a big variance.
stretch. I could see the understanding for one driveway, not a road access onto it. Because looking at this individual parcel, this 40-acre parcel by itself, if it did not have access from another source, a property owner is to be given access by either easement or other means. And I could see giving one access, being that if he has plans to develop this whole parcel with the attached parcel to the west, that brings it up into a different light. So just as addressing the variance request that is in front of us, I would not be in favor of it.
Well, as a legal question, us telling him that, being that he lives in Oak Grove and we're in East Bethel, that the law really doesn't pertain to us as far as, but we're not giving him access to his property. We're not landlocking his property. We're just saying, well, we live in this city, and this is East Bethel, and these are what our concerns are, and we're just not gonna let you, or is it just not, no matter what, do we have to give him access?
Well, he does have access on the parcel to the west.
Right, from the west.
When I was saying that, I was addressing just the single 40, not the parcel to the west. But because he does own both parcels, he does have access to it.
Well, the question on this particular property and so forth, I'd have to have a better understanding of essentially what its situation, what the access possibilities are. In light of, but if your question is does the city of East Bethel have an obligation based upon the facts before us to provide this particular property owner access? I don't see anything there that would mandate such a legal conclusion. So I'm back with essentially you have discretion to either affirm and agree with the denial of the Planning Commission, which is recommendation, or reverse it.
Any thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, our planning commission voted unanimously to deny this request. Did they have anything to say about the reapplication at all?
No, that wasn't brought up. The applicant would have to make that request. So after he was here and heard the denial, he called me the following day and said, what can I do to apply for one access point or one reduction? And I said, our ordinance states that you can't apply for 365 days unless the council gives you permission to do so. So we decided to run the variance tonight, and if the confirmation of the denial is confirmed by you guys, he then immediately wanted to request your permission to reconsider so that he could apply for a variance for one reduced access or reduced frontage.
But if we deny him a single, which we have every right to do, correct?
Well, he's going to have to apply for a single after tonight if you deny it. We're not going to just automatically grant him a variance for one reduction. He's going to need to reapply. But you have to give him the permission to do that within a calendar year, because our ordinance says he's not allowed to apply for the same variance within 365 days of a denial without your permission.
Well, from what I heard in remarks so far, and again with the concerns, I don't see, and he didn't come right out and say it, but and sort of he did, that he's going to wind up with two driveways as soon as he gets off the road, and he's going to go in there, and the same concerns are still out there from the neighbors. And we represent East Bethel people.
So for your consideration is the variance request for 2 access points, or a reduction from 105 to 2 access points at 52.94 for tonight.
The denial,
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny it, go along with what Planning Commission said.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of denial, say aye.
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 That's unanimous, so no need to ask the question.
And then would you be willing to allow the applicant to reapply for a variance for 1 access point?
Well, he can reapply, but again, my comments aren't going to change.
I'd like you to ask the Planning Commission what they think about it. I mean, I know we have to give them the permission, but why don't we defer to them on the issue? So do you think the council should allow them to reapply given 1 access point?
Would the council like to go with the Planning Commission's recommendation, or would you like me to bring their information back to you for you to make the final decision? Our ordinance states that you have to make that decision.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Well, we're making the denial decision on the 2 access point. He wants to know if we'll approve a single access point. I'm saying, why don't we ask the Planning Commission if they think they'd like that or not?
Our ordinance says that
I'm trying to be inclusive here.
No, understandable. Our ordinance says that you have to give him strict permission to apply for the same variance or something very similar within 365 days.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of whether the Planning Commission thinks 1 access is fine or not, until you say he can reapply within a calendar year, he can't reapply.
Right, if I could speak,
Yes.
Mayor, and so forth. So to our community development director, what I'm hearing though is that the planning commission doesn't have to formally take up the application, but can hear the potential applicant and provide guidance to that applicant as far as what type of variance for single access may be acceptable for the planning commission, and that this body would want to hear from the planning commission on an actual application. But there's no reason to have this property owner even go through that formal process without at least getting some feedback from the planning commission on an informal basis.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that's a
Said it better.
that's a very apt role for the planning commission. They are there in that advisory capacity to be able to handle these type of detailed type of analyses with respect to a variance.
In other words, I'd just like to get their advice, their opinion. Okay. Moving on, Section 8, Department Reports. City Administrator, number 1, Reserve Capacity Loan Amortization Proposal.
At our last meeting, we discussed the reserve capacity loan, which will be coming due in 2024 because of our unmet SAC goals. At that time, there was one amortization schedule that was provided. It was for a 10-year term, which showed a payment of $231,000 a year. We did go and run a 15-year and a 20-year term. On the 15-year term, we would pay an annual payment of $164,278 a year with total interest paid of $464,176. In a 20-year term, with an annual payment of $131,098 a year and $621,969 of interest paid. I've got a comparison chart I'll pull up here to show those. So going back, if you do the 10-year term, all these interest rates are constant here at 2.73%. So in this column here, you see what the total loan interest payment would be for each one. You see what the principal and interest payment would be on each one of those. So with the 10-year, you're paying approximately $100,000 more per year than you are at $131,000. The return interest is a figure that's calculated on the difference between the $231 annual principal and interest payment versus the difference between what the principal and interest payment is on the other two. So on the 15-year term, you would save $604,000, or you'd gain $604,000 in interest payments, and the 20-year, $814,000, assuming everything remains constant, revenue streams and interest return. If you take this down here, so the total loan interest paid for the 10-year is $321. That's the baseline, so obviously there's no savings there. You take it down to the 15-year line, you're paying $464,170 in interest, so you're getting a return interest of $604,000, or an increase or savings of $139,830. Over the 20-year term, that savings jumps to $192,039. Again, this is a very simplistic way of doing it. There's a lot of permutations you can use to calculate this, but assuming that we're going to get a 3.5% consistent or average interest rate over the term of this, and their revenue streams stay constant, this is what the figures would be for running those two additional term computations.
And the 3.5, I assume Mike did the calculations?
Yes, well, we just came up with that as an average interest rate because we know interest rates are coming down. 2.73 is our baseline, so we adopted a conservative figure.
Yeah, it's a very conservative figure, which is well advised in this case. And the reason I wanted to look at this stuff I mean, this is directly analogous to folks who get a mortgage on a house and get a 20 or 30-year mortgage and then pay an extra $100 or $200 a month if they're able. And it knocks down your principal, which reduces the time period for paying off the loan. And it's directly analogous to that. And we can do that, and I wasn't even making the case to reinvest the money and earn interest on it, any interest rate. It was just the flexibility of it, of if we have the money and there's some crisis or something, the sheriff's department budget allocation goes up 40% next year or something. But at least you're not hemmed in where you're hidebound to make the principal and interest payment at the highest level, and you're taking a hit on some other area too, which blows up like we're seeing happen right this year. And I plan to address it during our town hall meeting in November, but the numbers coming in from Blaine and other places are enormous. The levy increases, 19% in Blaine or something. I mean, it's incredible. So what you really want to get is to have the flexibility to level this out as much as possible, so you don't have this, And Anoka County as a county is going through the same thing too. You don't want to be either crashing on the rocks or, riding the waves just copacetic. You kind of want to have a level playing field.
And, in regard to what Kevin says, each one of these has their advantages and disadvantages. The 20-year one, it does level it out more. The 10-year one removes debt quicker, and you can take the assumption that this will be self-funding based on the revenue streams we anticipate. I use the word anticipate.
Right.
All these are based on anticipation.
Yeah, all you can do is make reasonable assumptions.
And I don't think there's a bad choice, but it just depends on what kind of goals we want to achieve on this.
No, yeah. At least it was worth looking at, put it that way. What is the drop dead date for making a decision?
We can make a decision, if we could do it at the next meeting would be great.
Okay. So anyway, it's worth just taking a look at, contemplate the scenarios that might be in front of us. None of us knows what the future is going to hold, but I'm inclined to want flexibility in financial matters. Maybe it's because of my own career path, but anyway, I find it a useful thing, and you can always prepay loans. No, I've never heard of a lender complaining about prepaying a debt.
That's correct. If things went bad or went really, really good, this thing could always be paid off.
Pay it off, yeah. And it wasn't so much, I wasn't so much thinking of the money being invested at 3.5% and the earnings that would come from that. It was instead of taking the money to pay down a 2.73% interest loan aggressively, I'd rather pay down something that's carrying 5 or 6 or 7% interest instead of doing this one. This is the cheapest money we've got as debt. So anyway, that's why I wanted to look at it, and I appreciate you accommodating me on that. Any comments, discussion about this? Okay, well then, the last item of the evening, other than we have a closed session coming up, but the last item on the regular agenda anyway is the city administrator job description.
Thank you, Kevin. Councilmember Brian Mundell has requested that the job description for the city administrator be added to the agenda for the October 9th, 2023 council meeting. The current description was approved on January 24th, 2022, replacing the one adopted in 2003. As there will be a change of personnel in this position effective January 1st, 2024, council may wish to review and update the job description. Staff is seeking direction as to any updates to the city administrator job description and any further directives as to the process of filling the position.
So to the first part of it is everybody satisfied with this, the city administrator's job description is complete as presented, at least the updated version of it. And just as background, I had asked, just some background. I guess it's been 3 or 4 weeks since I met with Mike Jerzorski, who's our finance director, human resources manager, and deputy city administrator. And that's an official thing, by the way, Eric. That was created by resolution some time back during COVID. You explained to me, Jack, that he would be the designated deputy city administrator, and that was to find out, first of all, if Mike had interest in becoming the new city administrator, and he expressed a lack of interest in doing that. But the other question was, would you be willing to serve in that role for, up to 2 or 3 months if necessary during a period if we had to go out in the market, advertise, sort through resumes, interview, and all that? And he said he would, so that was good. And then I think it was 2 weeks ago, I asked you to provide a city administrator job description, and you did so, and that's what you're presenting here in addition to your additional comments. If you've been through this, we have the original job description of 2003, and then we have the updated one of 2022. And then there's another page, and that's Jack's additional thoughts on the matter. So I guess the first question is, anybody see anything lacking in that job description? Is it complete and current? Okay. So anybody have any other questions on the matter for now?
If this description is complete and current, when do we want to start advertising for the city administrator position?
Well, I've also been talking with Mr. Larson, that'd be the gentleman to your right, and he has made it clear that it is not a state law or requirement or anything that they go through that method of advertising publicly, soliciting resumes and all that. And so I have identified somebody who seems to meet all the criteria extremely well, and because of, I could say accurately say that it's a matter of the Data Practices Act, but for the time being, I have to keep the information confidential because the person is employed, and they don't obviously they don't want that revealed until an opportune time, at which time we would present their credentials and have them come before the city council and do the, but I seriously doubt that we could possibly find someone better qualified for the job, I'll put it that way, in my honest opinion. So if you guys will grant me a little forbearance, I'll update you as we go along, and as soon as I can reveal that information, and if it all falls apart, then we'll go back to the typical, advertise it and solicit resumes and applications and all that business. And we'll still have time because, I'm sorry, I wasn't speaking into the mic, because Mike will serve the function, the city administrator, until we get it resolved. So we're good on both cases, covered. So. That it? Anything else? Did that answer your question, Brian? Maybe not to your satisfaction, but did
I
it
still
answer?
think that we should advertise because
Well, the thing that Eric and I talked about is
Yep.
if you honestly believe that you have someone who's extremely well qualified, it's almost like unfair to everybody else to waste their time,
But
So
we don't know who else is out there or who else we could attract that could be better.
Well, I'm asking your forbearance
I know.
to trust
I
my
didn't-
judgment.
I didn't
that-
say anything.
That I'm not, it's not an axe to grind with me or anything
No,
else. It's
I
just
didn't
a
say
matter-
anything, my
it's just a
opinion,
matter of-
we have the time
honestly-
right now to advertise, and my opinion is we should, but if you want to hold on off on that, then.
Just trust me a little bit on this one. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And I will keep you all updated as soon as I'm able to reveal the information. We'll proceed with it and all that. Is there anything else on our agenda other than on the open agenda? So we don't adjourn this meeting, we go into closed session, correct?
That's correct, Mayor, but generally you go through your staff reports, council reports, and other matters before you then go to the closed session.
Okay. Any staff reports, council reports?
I have nothing else to add.
I got, for council reports, I'm just curious because now we basically are not doing the work meetings anymore. So my thought is, I believe the League of Minnesota Cities on our packets that, my opinion anyways, we should be getting them on a Wednesday for the following Monday. We're supposed to have it 3 days, not including weekends, for our packets. And my reason is, a lot of stuff, when we have residents' addresses and stuff to look at, I want to go out there and look at it. A lot of times when I don't get my packet till 3:30, 4 o'clock on Friday, then I got to try to make the weekends to go and follow up with all that. So being that we're kind of done with the work meetings, I believe, is staff capable of doing that we can get it earlier, like on a Wednesday?
We'll have to see. A lot of it depends on what's going on. A lot of it depends too on waiting for consultants and other people to furnish us the information. We'll try to get it out as soon as we can, but sometimes it's not possible to do that.
Okay. I would just appreciate if you can work on that, that'd be great. Because like I said, I like to check out addresses and stuff when there is issues, just for my own benefit, so we can make a good decision for the residents.
I guess my question is getting the agenda out early too, which shows the topics rather than
Right.
that.
Yeah,
But it
that's
doesn't have the
helpful.
information.
That is helpful.
You know, you can
But it does.
you can at least see if there's addresses
Right.
you need to look at, and we always get that on Wednesdays.
Right.
Yeah, that is helpful.
But if you guys can do that, that would be greatly
I
appreciated.
would say the chances of getting out on Wednesday are somewhat slim though, because of the amount of stuff we have to review, prepare, and get ready for this. We'll do our best, but I won't give you can't make any promises.
No, okay, but now that we're not doing a work meeting, you shouldn't have to focus on that part of it and give us information that we can't make a decision on anyways until we have a council meeting. You know what I mean? So,
The only thing the work meeting did was there was only one meeting in between that it really interfered with, but there's also, Aaron's got his planning commission meetings, I've got the EDA meetings, so there's still a lot of stuff to do. So we'll try our best, but I
Okay.
can't guarantee anything.
I'm just
We'll
asking.
probably, just as an exciting prospect, we'll probably be bringing back the work meeting to discuss the topic I was just talking about. I talked to Eric earlier today, and a work meeting would probably be a good venue for,
And we still have the
Talking
capability.
about
The
the
work meeting's
city
still on the
administrator.
schedule, so we just cancel them unless there's a need to have one.
we just wanted to get away from the every month thing, where it's like
But the worst-
baked into the cake,
Right, the worst part is with the work meeting, you can't make a decision anyway, so if you're getting it presented, if we can do it at a council meeting, we can decide.
Well,
So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So.
I
if
see
we
your
can
point, yeah, I
limit it
do.
on that. Then also, I'd like to just say, like, tonight we had the open house at the fire department, which there was a good turnout.
Yep.
But one thing I would like to see, if possible, if we could do it on a night where we don't have a council meeting. Because like, just for an example, Mr. Miller was there and he brought his grandson, and his grandson's eyes were about this big, happy as could be to get on a fire truck. And I have a great grandson that I would like to do that with also, but time was limited. So if that's possible, if staff can work with the fire department, maybe have it on an off day or something like that, if that works.
We can check that. I think generally the reason they've had it on Mondays is because that's their training night, and it eliminates one more night that the firefighters don't have to be out.
Sure. But whatever you can do, that'd be deeply appreciated. Thank you, that's all I got.
Yeah, I'd like to add, the fire department tonight, that was a fun time. My grandson had a great time. I saw a lot of kids up there enjoying themselves and engaging with the firemen and the sheriff's department, even the state patrol. If you didn't go, I highly recommend that our residents attend as many of these as they can to show the support, because those guys do put on a very nice open house up there, very informative, and it was a good time.
Well, it was a pleasant surprise to stop by the arena on the way up here. Boy, what a night and day difference. Clean. It's really nice looking inside. Wasn't crap laying all over, the doors were closed. Kids were having a great time. Big difference from last time I was in.
Wow, it's
Good to hear.
Council's been out and about. I was at the fire station. So, yeah. Good, that's what we're supposed to be doing, get out in the community, see what's up. So what's our procedure for going into a closed session, other than just saying we're going into a closed session?
So Mayor, council members, I will announce at this time that the council will be recessing its regularly scheduled meeting to go into a closed session to discuss the purchase or sale of real property. It's closed pursuant to Minnesota Statutes 13D, subdivision 3C, regarding the discussion of sale of city property, PIN number 36-33-23-34-002, and PIN number 29-33-23-33. Well, same PIN number, at least on this. Regardless, it's noticed correctly on the agenda, at which point, once the closed session has come to a conclusion, we will come back into regular session and proceed toward adjournment. With that, Mayor, you can announce that we are recessing this particular meeting and going into closed session.
We are recessing this particular meeting and going into closed session.
Good job, Kevin. No, under the 35,000 general, Dollar General. See my grandson when he walked, he looked like an animal. He was mad. He
Especially for all the stuff he's
didn't get
done.
to wear his helmet.
Done for the city,
Right now. He's in the garage with his helmet and waiting for him.
That was cool.
military, and
How excited he was, it was like, that's really cool.
The fireman.
Okay, so
He's a very
All
good
right.
example.
he's old school.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. This is Eric Larson, East Bethel City Attorney. For the record, the closed session of the City Council was adjourned as of 8:52 p.m. and it is now 8:54 p.m. where the East Bethel City Council is back in general session. It is my role to indicate what the decision of the City Council was during the closed council session for item 9.0D, discussion of the sale of city property, PID number 29-33-23-33-002. Council directed staff to engage an independent appraisal, and upon obtaining that appraisal, inform the market that the property is on the market per the appraised amount, and then engage in any willing and interested purchasers about the possibility of an actual negotiated purchase of that property. With respect to the second closed session item, with respect to the sale of property 36-33-23-34-002, the potential sale of a 50-wide foot strip that the city owns that runs between Longfellow Drive and East Bethel Ham Lake corporate limits. Council directed staff to enter in negotiations with the adjacent property owner for the sale of that property from the city to those individuals, with all costs with respect to that sale to be imposed upon the purchasers, as well as any other reasonable sale items that staff felt was appropriate. And when and if a purchase agreement was agreed to, then bring that purchase agreement for the council's review and decision and action.
With that, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you for your summary there, Eric. So we have a motion to adjourn made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard.